Aaron Lewis from Liberty Brett Norfleet here with Tommy Lepore here from Hello everyone, welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. Look guys, fall ball is right around the corner, starts up, I think here pretty quick, August. First dates. If you haven't got yourself registered, go to Game7Baseball.com. They got some great fall tournaments. Also, they got one down in Branson. Great venue. Always like Ballparks of America. Great venue down there. They got a fall ball tournament the first weekend in October. So make sure you're checking out if you got your team together. I know football is coming up, but hey, you know, if you want to stay relevant, keep yourself going there. Fall ball's a great way to do that. Just keep your swings. Just kind of keep yourself into it a little bit. So check out Game7Baseball.com for some fall ball. As always, today we're on Prep Baseball Talk. Kevin Moulder from Prep Baseball Report. Kevin, it's been a couple weeks. You've been down in Georgia with the Future Games. How's it going, man?
It is going great. I've had a really busy couple weeks and kind of capped off our summer with the Future Games, which is always a hit and a lot of fun. And this year was obviously no different. And
so you just finished up the Future Games and getting ready to head towards it. Now, your first couple events are in September, correct?
yeah, our big event this fall would be we have a couple of them. Sunday, September 11th is our upper and under fall games, upper and underclass fall games. That is at Atkins Field in Columbia, Missouri. We're about a month away from that, and that'll be one of the highlights of the fall. Always a great event, and then event that you and Justin attended last year and we're actually on the call. We do have we're renewing the Battle for the Arch, which will be uncommitted seniors for the most part, and then there'll be some juniors mixed in there, and we'll obviously take a team from Missouri with an emphasis on the eastern side of the state, obviously the St. Louis area players, and then we will play the state of Illinois with an emphasis kind of on the southern Illinois side of things here. So it was a hit last year, really well attended. We had 11 or 12 colleges out, and it was a really strong event, and a lot of those guys signed, and it was a strong event, so we're looking forward to that one again.
We had a good time out there. I hope we'll be out. We'll come out there again. Love to call that stuff. We had Coach Perkins with us talking baseball. We got to meet Coach Ahern from Missouri Baptist that weekend. Come on the broadcast and talked a little baseball with us as well.
Coach Ushel.
Ushel,
yeah.
Excuse me.
Coach, yeah.
Eddie Ushel, right?
Yeah, and they, obviously have one of the top NAI programs in the country, and, that's not a fly-by-night deal. They've been doing that for years and years now. So that's they're really strong.
Exactly. So we love being out with these things, and I'm hoping to get out to Atkins again as well with you guys. We'll catch up. We'll let everybody know what's going on there. But if you're looking to get into this, go to prepbaseballreport.com. Click on the Missouri stuff. If you're looking for an invitation, correct, Kevin?
Yes. Yep.
Very good. Let's talk a little bit because, from the Future Games, we're going to start with this, though, because the future is very bright for Missouri. I think baseball has really taken another step over the last, I've been around it since 2005 and watching, umpiring, coaching, being part of the club scene, and then since 2017 with Youth Baseball Midwest, we've done a lot of informational stuff with our club spotlights and watching players. And starting with this 2023 group, you got Adam Hatchman, which you're very familiar with from Timberland. played with USA Prime National. He is the number 5 overall ranked player in the nation with Prep Baseball Report, and the number 2 in his position. What does that bode for that kind of player? What does that mean, Kevin?
Well, Adam's kind of doing the summer circuit right now, and he's done some of these major events. He was just at the East Coast Pro workout this week and had a really strong outing. He was 93, 96, topped out at 99 miles per hour. So that's good. He is on the radar, and we'll see how things play out. There's still almost a full year till the draft. Probably 11 months, a little more than 11 months, I guess. But he's in the mix, for a potential. With St. Louis could have a first rounder on our hands. We'll see. There's a lot of water to cross under the bridge before then, but he has their attention, and he had a really strong out, and he has a couple more events coming up that are really important for him in terms of next year's draft. And who knows what he'll do. He's committed, and soon will be signed with Arkansas this fall. So, I'm not saying that he's going to go straight, sign professionally. So he's got a college career in front of him if he chooses.
But when you're talking about the number 5 overall in the nation, you're talking about possibility of high draft pick, correct? That's basically
absolutely
what it boils down to.
Yeah, any kid that's in the top 25 on our list has got a real chance to be a very high draft pick.
And, that follows on the heels. We saw Carson Milbrandt. Now, I think he was 85? 85th?
Yes, 85th pick.
That's third round. Is that correct?
He's third round, and I don't want to, he signed, this is public knowledge, he signed for double slot value. So he got about $1.5 million, which is obviously life-changing money. And, he had a Vanderbilt education behind him. So he was supposed to go to Vanderbilt. That's the definition of leverage right there, because
we missed that a little bit there because you froze. So you said the Vanderbilt education is some leverage. So what does that mean again?
Well, you talk to players, or I'm in a position where I'm in front of players a lot, and I talk to them about their academics. And Carson was able to sign with Vanderbilt University, which is obviously one of the top academic institutions in the country, and they have a great baseball program as well. So when a team drafts a player from a Stanford, from a Vanderbilt, schools of that nature, you're going to have to pay them to get them out of that. And Carson was able to get double the slot value for that 85th pick, partly behind the strength of his Vanderbilt commitment, or being able to go there this fall. So good for Carson, and that's why a huge reason why those academics are so important.
Well, I think that's very interesting because as we talked about, you said that top 25. Here's a young man, third round pick, got great value for that pick, and then you're talking about Adam Hatchman, now 20. So Missouri is in that top echelon of draft picks coming out. That's producing some talent. Now, of course, these are talented, but the development process and what we're able to do in the state now, how that's growing, how that's helping these athletes get to that level. Yes?
100%. And I think this is a reflection on two things. One, our high school coaches and our high schools are doing a very good job of developing players, and we're starting to get more serious about baseball in our state. Some of the facilities, obviously what Vianney has kind of started with their facility, now Chaminade, Parkway South has a really high-end facility. I'm not trying to leave anyone out, obviously, but I was down at Branson, and they have a full field turf field. All the Columbia schools, Rockbridge, Battle, Columbia Hickman all just fully turfed their fields. They're making a commitment to baseball, and we had Mr. Harris on from the AD at Francis South Central, and he made a good point. We're getting our games in either way. But what that field turf does is it allows, we're starting tryouts at the beginning of March, more or less. That's a tough month for baseball and to play outside in our state. You're going to get some days when you can go out, but the problem is on that day when it's 65, 70 degrees, it typically has been wet the day before. So that field turf allows for extra development with the practice side of things. And that month of March is a huge month. If you can be on the field with your kids, practicing, developing, they're going to get a lot better as opposed to having a poor field, being stuck hitting in one cage in the gym and maybe playing catch. And then, oh, yeah, the weather's good enough now because it's April, and we're just basically rolling right into games. So I think that is a huge component of it. And, I saw like the Webster School District passed a bond issue. Their baseball field is going to be turfed here in the next year or two. And I can promise you, Webster Groves does something. I would imagine Kirkwood would do something. One of these Howells or Zumwalt gets something done. Francis Howell gets it. You can assure yourself Central is going to do it, and then, the Zumwalts are going to follow. So it will spread like wildfire once one or two more get this, and it's an encouraging thing because we have some talented players. They just need to be developed, and that's what the southern states do so well. Their window is bigger than ours from when they can be outside. It's not that their kids are more talented than ours. It's just their development window is bigger, and artificial turf helps close the gap for us a little bit.
I love that point. I think that's so interesting. I don't know how many people think about that. And that's one of the reasons why I like what we're doing. We were able to do the GAC Game of the Week. If we can put a little more spotlight on these players and the talent level, I know football and basketball people do that, but that's one of the things I enjoy about this, Kevin, and having you come on the show talking about you're seeing these kids, you understand the development process coming from that collegiate recruiting process as well, seeing what kids do, how they develop and whatnot. I think it's absolutely important that we are bringing baseball into the forefront because it's going to, I think, put a little more pressure on some of these schools maybe to take an extra step in developing their programs. Agreed?
Oh, 100%. Yes. And, it's a competitive deal, and when one does it, then the others can't have their hands forced or a decision to make. Do we want to keep up or do we want to be left in the dust? And, hopefully we continue moving forward with these baseball facilities. Because quite honestly, they were substandard for, where our baseball talent is. And they've done a great job with a lot of our football fields. Some of our basketball venues are really nice, and it's good to see some of the baseball fields coming along now.
2023, there's two guys here also in the top 100, Nazan Zanatello, CBC, Will Libert, Blair Oaks. You've talked about these kids. Zanatello still shows uncommitted. Libert's committed to Mizzou. These are two very, very high-level players, aren't they?
Yes, these two kids both have a chance to be, this is a big 11 months for them. Nazan Zanatello is one of the more special athletes in the country. Can play multiple positions, obviously a shortstop. He can play third base. He's got plenty of arm strength. He can really run. He could play the outfield if needed. He's got thump in the bat. He's an exciting player. He's one of the more fun players to watch play. He's got an electric personality to go with it. He's a fun kid to be around. He's a guy that is going to be in the mix and will have scouts' attention next spring. And then Will Lippert in the middle of the state. We've talked about that Blair Oak team. Lefty, he was just at Area Codes yesterday, in fact, out at Long Beach in California, one of the heavily scouted events. It was up to 93, had a really strong outing. So that'll be another guy that scouts are buzzing in to see next spring.
And these are the guys, those three dudes, that's the 1, 2, 3 overall positions in the state of Missouri for 2023. Now, there's a lot of the guys, but these are, we're looking at a national spotlight here, folks. And then we roll into 2024, the juniors, which were just the class you took to the Future Games. And, you know, and the kids that you took, people have to remember the, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I got a tickle in my throat and it's killing me. But Trey Snyder, the number one player there, Liberty North, committed Tennessee. The Future Games are all kids that are uncommitted, which I think is great, and that's one of the reasons why. But we saw Trey Snyder at the championship game, and it was, I mean, he played great shortstop, didn't he?
He's a high-end defensive player, and he can hit as well. He, is a good player. He came with the Future Games with us 2 years ago. Occasionally we'll bring a special talent that's one class before, for like this year, it would be the 2025 class. We brought one player with us. So we did that with Trey a couple of years ago. And, yeah, he's a special player. And, Liberty North, I had been talking about them for a good while. And I think I mentioned I thought they'd win a state championship sooner or later. I'll admit they did it a year before I thought they might, because they're going to be really strong again. They had a ton of young talent on that team, and Trey's at the top of the list. Tate McGuire was actually out at the area code games as well. Threw 3 scoreless innings, struck out 5. Don't believe he gave up a hit either. So that's another guy that's going to be on for the 2023. That's a guy that will be a borderline draft prospect that scouts will be popping in to see. He's a tall, good-looking kid heading to Arkansas with a low 90s fastball.
That's a Liberty North.
That's going to be one.
That's a Liberty North.
Yeah, of course, right? Liberty North. Yeah. So they got them stacked up over there.
Yeah, because Trey Snyder, he's ranked number 60 overall in the nation. His position is number 19th on a national side. He's the number one. You got him ranked number 1 overall player in the state of Missouri. And then another West Side guy, Cole Gibbler, Blue Springs, committed to Arkansas. Both these guys play for the Royal Scout team in the summer. He's ranked number 72 nationally and number 9 in his position, left-handed pitcher out of Blue Springs.
Yeah, I really like Cole. He can really pitch. Super competitive guy, and he is an out-getter. The only thing that we're waiting on for him is for that final velocity pop, but he is one of the top arms in the state, and he's still, up to 88 or whatever. But if that thing, when he pops and it goes into the low 90, he is going to be also considered a draft prospect, and he is committed to Arkansas and one of the top arms in our state, certainly.
And then you got some kids, and I did this because I'm looking down, and you're number 200 and 212. I was just looking down through there because, I mean, you're talking about 200 players in the whole nation. That's not a lot when it comes to looking at the overall scope of things, right?
No.
And you got at number 200, you have Drew Dixon from Lee Summit. Plays with the U.S. Nationals. He's ranked number 3 in the state and number 2 in his position in the state. But he's also, there's another player committed to Mizzou, number 212, right-hander pitcher, and we've talked about him. here in St. Louis, Andrew Dumont from High School.
Yeah, Drew Dickerson and Andrew Dumont, and in both these, all the rankings are going to be redone this month. In fact, our 2024s will come out soon. I would expect Andrew Dumont in particular will possibly rise up the rankings even more. He's had a strong summer. He can really pitch. Just committed to Tennessee earlier this year. He's a fun one because a year ago he was kind of a low to mid 80s pitcher that he could really pitch. And the thing about him and the thing about Hatchman, those guys got outs when they were low to mid 80s pitchers, and so they knew how to pitch before they threw hard, which is a dangerous recipe for being highly successful.
Right.
Sometimes the harder throwers, you'll see them having trouble throw strikes, or they don't command a secondary pitch because they've never had to. They've just thrown it by kids their whole life. It is interesting when you see a kid take a massive velocity jump that already knew how to get outs, and that's what Andrew is he can flat pitch. He can get outs when he's throwing 84, 87. But when he's throwing 88, 92, it's going to be dominant. And that's basically what's happened this summer.
That's awesome. And I think, again, this is why I say we talk about the future of Missouri baseball. These are kids coming, and it'll be interesting to see when the rankings are redone, how people move up, where those things go on a national level with some of these age groups.
Absolutely.
Looking at 2025, this is the sophomore group. Strong freshman class. We talked about them. First off the bat right here, number 21 overall on a national ranking, number 7 on a national ranking in his position is shortstop Ty Thompson, Rockbridge. He's committed to Tennessee. Here's a 2025 committed to Tennessee. That shows you the level of talent he really is, isn't it?
Yeah, he was with us last year at the Junior Future Games and had a really strong showing and committed to Tennessee, within a month of the Junior Future Games. A plus runner, 6'5", plus started at Rockbridge, which is a major school, obviously, 6A school. So started as a true freshman. Believe led off as well. So kind of tells you, if you're doing that at Columbia Rockbridge as a freshman, what type of talent we're dealing with. And there's a couple others. We just brought one to the Future Games 2025 that'll, when the rankings get redone, we brought down to the Future Games Jordan Martin, who was starting shortstop at Jeff City and number 1 pitcher for them this spring. Had a great Future Games, was 87, 89. Had a really strong outing at the plate, or week at the plate as well. Hit a couple doubles, played a strong defensive shortstop, and super athletic kid with a wiry 6'4" frame. Picked up multiple Power 5 offers down at the Future Games, and certainly have an opportunity to commit to a pretty strong baseball program here this fall if he chooses. So that's a really strong class, and we're looking forward to following them for the next 4 years or so.
There's the other thing. The number 3 overall guy you've got here, number 59 overall in the nation. His brother he finished his senior year. Grant Richards went to Coastal Carolina. And Gavin Richards committed to Oklahoma. I don't know if he's at St. Dominic. We don't know. Is he going back to Vianney, or is he going to stay at St. Dominic? I think that's interesting. I hadn't heard.
I guess we'll find out. He was at St. Dominic, and so I'm going to assume that's where he is until
right.
You find out otherwise. But was on the shelf a little bit this spring with a little bit of an arm deal, but I know he's back healthy. So that'll be a fun one to follow this spring.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing that. We talked to him, him and Riker Benz back when they were playing 14U baseball. We had him on the show. It was fun talking to him. They were playing for the St. Louis Dynamite. Now both these kids are looking really good. The one here that was interesting is kind of an outlier. You had as the number 2 position rank. He's not ranked on the national side, but that's Sebastian Norman, Glendale kid playing for the Midwest Mavericks.
And that will change. He will be in the national rankings here next week when those get redone. Super talented player. Probably the most talented player in the class in terms of raw tools. He's a 6'4" runner. Major exit velocity, about 100 miles per hour, can hit the ball out to the opposite field. Really strong physical player, and he's one of the exciting young talents we have. So there are some legit high end guys in this 25 class, and we kind of hit the 4 at the top of the list, I would say, with Jordan Martin, Ty Thompson, Sebastian Norman, and Gavin Richards. And not to say that there aren't others, because I know of some others really strong ones in that class, but I say those 4 at the moment are at the head of the class.
I thought that was so interesting when I was looking through these and I saw his name. And, we talk about the I-70 corridor a lot from St. Louis to Columbia to Kansas City, but Springfield is really starting to grow. And, Glendale to Nixa, Ozark, Republic Joplin. There's some really good schools down there with some really good Kickapoo. Can't leave Kickapoo out of that. There's some really high-end talent in that southwest corner of the state in there.
Absolutely, yeah. It's strong baseball. We had a couple Southwest Missouri guys at the Future Games this year, and Tank Sims um, and oh man, White. Forget his last name.
Caden White.
Cade White.
Yeah.
I apologize. He started game 1 for us and did a great job. Was 86-89 with a really sharp breaking ball and no doubt Division I arm. So a lot of talent coming out of the southwest portion of the state.
What's cool about that, and this is what's fun for me with some of this stuff, Kevin, when I saw his name on the roster, I was like, that is so cool, because Justin and I had went down, we did our winter workout tour. That was 2020, wasn't it, son? 2021, 2020, with the Midwest Mavericks down there. And Cade White was part of that. And we talked to Cade White, Ben Reuter, and I'm trying to remember the other, and Jeremiah Jones. Jeremiah Jones is another kid. I think he's a 2026. Jeremiah Jones, keep that kid on your radar. He's tremendous talent. But we did a player spotlight with Cade White, and then I see his name pop up there and whatnot. It's so cool watching these kids grow, and the opportunity we saw when he was 13 years old playing for the Midwest Mavericks. Now he's in the Future Games, having success. It's really cool to watch how these kids are developing and becoming, high-end talent. And that's what I'm saying. The future's so bright. Since we started these things back in 2019 in the player spotlights, watching these kids getting these opportunities is so cool.
It is. And yeah, that's the neat part about it when you see them young and get to watch them grow and follow their career. So it's, we kind of saw what happened with Liberty North. We've been talking about that for a year or two. And, we've been talking about Vianney having a good, strong, young class. So it is fun to see that come to fruition.
Absolutely. There's one last name, because it was down there. He's the number 4 ranked in the state, 121 overall. And it looks like Lee Summit West is going to have a pretty good team for the next couple years. Tyler Wood, he's committed to Mizzou. Another.
Tyler Wood is, yeah, and I should have mentioned him in the four because I would throw him in that as in the same category. Tyler Wood is going to throw extremely hard one day. He already does throw hard. Saw him this summer up to 90 miles per hour, 6'3" physical frame. It would not surprise me at all. When we're talking about him, the same way we're talking about Carson Milbrandt with the draft, that would not shock me at all with Tyler Wood if that same sort of thing happened. He's got a chance to be a mid to upper 90s arm if things keep progressing because he's not too far off already.
The one thing that I think is so interesting watching a lot of this, Kevin, and we've talked about this a little bit before, is the development of pitching in the state of Missouri. Right, left, and we seem to get a lot of left-handers for whatever reason. I'm not quite sure how that works out, but it may just go in cycles. I don't know. But the development of pitching in this state, and we discussed this before, where a lot of the schools, a lot of the recruiters are looking because there's not as many innings early on in their life as some of these other kids may be playing south. Correct?
Yeah, no, you do see that. It is interesting. Like I've seen heat maps of like where MLB players come from, and positionally, often or just Southern California, Texas, Florida, Georgia are your main areas who produces the major league positional talent. The pitchers, however, is way more spread out, and like the Northeast produces a decent amount of, and it's because the mileage on the arm stays down and there's development still there for the pitchers. So, this area in particular has pumped out a decent amount of pitching talent, and there's certainly more in the pipeline up and coming.
So this leads us into, what we've talked about, the future games. And we talked about, that's where the future's bright for the state of Missouri. The future games, you guys had, from the 13U, you had two 14U teams. And I know there was some kids that were put on the 114U team from other parts of the country, because I know you guys say you do that. If there's a spot for a kid, you'll make sure he gets an opportunity to play. But yet, the majority of kids on these teams were from the state of Missouri. And, excuse me. Oh, man.
Yeah, we had a really strong showing with the Junior Future Games, and that's back-to-back years. Our 14U team made the semifinals. We won our pool, which was the toughest pool at the Future Games, because we had in our pool Michigan, who made the finals. We had Tennessee, who won the consolation bracket, who we beat, and played the Pacific Northwest. We beat them, and let's see, that was our three games. So everyone kind of advanced, and then we made the semifinals. We beat Team Texas in a quarterfinal game, which was a big deal, and lost to Arkansas, who ended up winning the championship. So really proud of the 14U group. That was great. Actually had 13. We had two 14U teams, and our other 14U advanced to the consolation semifinals. So strong showing from both 14U teams, and then our 13U advanced to the consolation finals. So really proud of those guys, and just had one of our junior future game players commit to Mizzou. Nolan Sissom committed last night or yesterday to Mizzou, and was on the 14U team that made the semifinals and had a great week. And there was a number of Power 5 schools watching that event, even at the junior side of things. So, a couple of years in a row where we've had players commit right after the Junior Future Games.
I think this is where those things go to. I saw, Cole Chambers was playing down there, correct?
Yep.
You had Brandon Ott. I think that those two showed very well from that squad. There's some really talented players that, as we said, from 26 to 27, that are going to feed into this. And I'm looking forward to it because we saw, even at the Double A, when we were watching, Justin and I, we did a lot of Double A championship games. We were streaming that. I saw there's a young man, Shipman, down in played for the SEMO Cardinals. I believe he's going to Jackson High School. I'm not quite sure. I think it is. Catcher hit a bomb out of CNH. This is a 14U kid. Yeah, I mean, and a catcher that athletic behind the plate. And so it's fun to see these kids and then watch. I want to see where they get to the high school. Jackson's got one of those really good programs.
So absolutely, they do.
It'll be interesting to see. We get we're getting ready to do our Super 7 Scholarship Award. We saw a lot of kids. Mason Lostutter. We saw some kids from Illinois, from one of the young men over there. I forget. Oh, I'm trying to remember all the names. I'm with you, bud. It just, you see it so. Parker Wolfe. Parker Wolfe with the Illinois Gators, Coach Yates' team over there. We're watching the championship game. This young man had a great weekend. And then, you're on Ozzie Smith's Field A, which is pretty much a high school ballpark. I mean, here's a 14-year-old kid hitting a bomb out of there. When you start seeing kids with, I think at 14U with that kind of power, hitting them out of high school parks, that's when there's some pop in the bat. The swing is there. The talent level can project to that next development set. Correct?
Yeah, and watching 14U baseball is interesting because there's some kids that are early developed. Literally will have facial hair and are really good today, and that doesn't mean they're going to be good or the main guys when they're older. And then there's some guys. I'll just use Ty Thompson for example. A year ago, that kid still looked like he was 12, 13 years old, and he was still, doing all those things. So that's the ones you kind of get real excited about. But as I told these junior future game kids that are 14 years old, they're really good players. And they're good players today. But what it really means is they're just better than the kids at their age right now. None of them, not one of them, is good enough to play college baseball today. They all got to go out and get a heck of a lot better. They got to keep working. They got to keep progressing. Even the kids that commit, they better keep getting better because other kids are going to catch up physically. They're going to keep working. There's a lot of time to pass between now and when they get to college. So you do see that. Some kids will kind of plateau out early, and then other kids will hit another level and keep rising. So, it is important. I think a lot of this stuff with the 14U stuff, players is great. The attention they get, some of them get scholarship opportunities, but it can also be a curse. And it just means they have a target on their back, and they got to be working. It takes a lot of maturity for a 14-year-old to understand that.
I love that thought process, what you said there, Kevin. There's none of these kids, and I think this is relevant, as we've talked about parents a lot, and understanding as a parent, if you have a kid like that, keep that relevance there. And many of these kids is just, you say college baseball, but most of these kids aren't good enough to start on their varsity team yet.
Correct? That's right. Yeah, and they can still be really good at 14 and not be and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just called natural how things work, the natural development of it. So
that's why it's very rare, as you said, to see, and especially, when you get into the 6A, 5A schools, it's very rare to see a freshman starting at those levels of varsity high school baseball. I mean, you have to be an extreme talent to get that done.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a rare deal, a special circumstance, and uh, there are some guys in our state that have done it, and but it's not necessarily common, and there are plenty of guys that we don't have ranked or marginal players as freshmen, maybe even get cut from their team. They're going to end up being really strong varsity players and go on to college careers. So there is a lot more to the story than your freshman year of high school.
Very good. Exactly. Kevin Moulder, always fun, man. I love talking baseball.
Absolutely. We'll do it again next week.
Yes, sir. We've got some great stuff. Again, folks, the future's bright here. Follow along. Support your schools. I know we're a little ways away, but there's some great stuff coming up here. If you want to go watch some really good baseball, when the games are on, there's opportunity to come and see these teams play. There's, the college, the collegiate level programs that are out there going and watching these players that may be playing in the summer leagues, that are going on to play. There's some great stuff out at Carshield Field. There's a league out there. I believe there's still the Metro Collegiate League that's out there, correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's great to support these if you want to watch baseball and you want to see some guys that maybe you might see at the next level, at the major league level. You just don't know. And I think it's an interesting way to kind of find and stay in there. Support your high schools, support the kids. It's a lot of fun out there. If you want to follow Kevin Moulder, make sure you do it. He's on Instagram, Twitter, at PBR_Moulder, and at PBR Missouri on both Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you follow him. Keeps you up to date on what's going on with Prep Baseball Report. He does a great job out there. Kevin, always a pleasure, man. Thanks as always.
Okay, have a good week.
You do the same. Thanks for joining us, folks. Everybody have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and you hitters, hit them where they aim. We'll see you next time.